A casual sexual relationship should probably be avoided if it's happening with people you're having a one-night stand with, you don't have any like longer-term like committed relationship with, because the chances for that person to push a boundary are probably going to be higher than within a committed relationship with somebody that you trust.
I've heard 5 different definitions of casual sex this week, so if we could clarify it, that'd be great. I think that'd probably be helpful.
Sure, casual sex is with people that you're not dating or have long-term dating relationships with, and that would be non-casual sex. It would be like committed relationships. Like casual sex is like a one-night stand or something like that.
But you know that that's not where most I can't even say sexual assault, right? What should I say? When
we can talk in terms of probabilities.
Oh my god.
So then we either, if a woman is in a relationship and her boyfriend is doing something that is perceived that she's being sexually assaulted or raped or whatever, or there's a boundary being pushed, if you can't say something there, then just don't be in relationships. I don't know what to say to you. You have to be treated like a child, essentially, because you can never stand up for yourself, or you have to hope. You're giving all the power then to the man in all of these circumstances for whether or not he's going to decide to rape you, since it's just impossible as a woman to ever assert a boundary otherwise. If that's the type of world you want to live in, you can.
If you can
I wish
say-
people
if you
like
can
you
say
would just
that,
stop
wait.
talking publicly. Jesus Christ.
If you can say that, wait a second. If you can say that, then women don't own rape, men do. So maybe men aren't mature enough, and maybe men are too criminal to have sex. That is an overwhelmingly horrific statement. But what you're going with
No, hold on. I would agree with you. If you're a man that stealths somebody or tries to get somebody intoxicated to the point they can't say no or anything else, I would say, yeah, you shouldn't be fucking women either. Did you think that's a hard buy for me? What?
There's a difference.
Okay, if you want to say breaking a boundary instead of pushing a boundary, that's fine as well. But I'm telling you that in most sexual interactions, a lot of people don't talk about everything that happens beforehand. And a lot of these things are figured out like on the spot. And sometimes people change their mind in the middle of a situation. It happens. If you're not capable of having a mature adult conversation during sex while it's happening, then you shouldn't be having casual sex.
This entire thing, right, this entire time that there's a difference. And you say, well, if 3 different people sexually assaulted you, guess there's something fucked up about you that you need to learn to change that situation. And that statement,
This is how life works.
What's wrong with that?
If you have a friend and she's had one abusive boyfriend, then she gets to another relationship and she has a second abusive boyfriend, then she gets to another and she has a third abusive boyfriend. So there's some behavior there that you have control of that you need to change. Instead of just being like, man, it's the guy's fault all the time, which it is. If you're an abusive man, that is your fault. But there's still behavior on the woman's side. Don't say finally. Nobody here is disagreeing otherwise. Yeah, what you need to say is, hey, maybe there's some behavior that you can exhibit rather than this big circle jerk of like, yes, queening, it's all the men's fault. They keep jumping from
circle jerking?
You are right now. You just
victim.
said it. You can tell somebody, hey, make different choices. Something is obviously not working here. Let's change the fucking plan.
I don't know somebody and I hear that they find themselves in an abusive situation over and over and over again. I assume that person doesn't know how to draw boundaries for themselves. Not so much that, obviously, other people don't respect their boundaries, but I would be alarmed and wonder if they know how to respect their own boundaries. I would tell them to take a step back and to probably stop dating for a while until they can really respect their own boundaries. Do you think
Do you understand why stop dating is very different advice than stop having casual sex? Casual and sex implies like promiscuity.
Stop dating is mild and stop having casual sex is more extreme, but they're both solid fucking advice.
Okay, Katie, what do you think a woman should do if she sees that a guy is taking a condom off to go and fuck her while they've been fucking? What do you think the woman should do?
If they agreed to not have the condom?
Yep. If they agreed to have a condom and then the guy tries to stealth her and she notices it, what do you think the woman should do?
I would hope she could say something. I don't know if she can.
Okay, so if there's a woman that tells you, if a guy did that to me, I don't think I could say anything. What would you give advice to that woman for? What would you tell her? Keep having casual sex and hope you don't run into that? Or maybe you should work on that before you start having casual sex?
I wouldn't assume that she's having casual sex.
Can you answer that question, or are you going to pivot really hard?
Can you ask
me again? Are you going to not interrupt her?
Do you not think that
if a friend tells you, if a guy were to stealth me, I don't know if I could actually say anything to him. Right? And I'm on Tinder and I'm, talking to guys, and if she says that she says that thing to you, would you tell her, well, hey, listen, if it happens, like, get raped, LOL, or would you tell her, hey, maybe you shouldn't be engaging in casual sex until you can figure out how to establish or reinforce those boundaries during sex?
I would tell her, yeah, Spectre?
Oh, yeah,
no, Katie.
No, never mind.
Well, what is the answer? What would you tell that friend?
I would tell her that I hope that she can try to work on like methods for her to try to like being able to assert her like autonomy. But
Before
if she
having
has
casual
certain
sex.
trauma triggers, that are going to lead to her not being able to assert that, and she still wants to engage in that behavior, then I would tell her that I hope no one would ever do that to her.
So you're a rape victim creator. You're like, every rapist's dream is that a girl has a friend like you that tells her friend with trauma to go out and keep fucking guys. And if she happens to run into a guy that's creepy, pushes
You
boundaries, and
think
breaks boundaries,
I'm a
then he can
rape
just rape her.
creator?
Yes,
Are you talking
absolutely.
about the responsibility of women is helping women?
But
Yeah, for
you
both
understand
sides,
he's
sex, yes.
telling women to get out of dangerous situations, right, Katie?
What?
You understand that what he's saying is giving advice to women to get them out of dangerous situations.
You
right?
Then don't have sex in a relationship yet either.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay,
flip this on
so
the other
we
side.
agree
Hold on.
on that.
Let's flip this on the other side. If a woman says, I don't really think I could ever verbalize any type of opposition to a guy taking a condom off in a casual sexual circumstance, should I still go out and have casual sex with guys I meet off Tinder? What do you think the answer to that should be?
If you ask me,
No, expect their answer. Don't answer for him to try to bail people out of tough questions when there's an obvious contradiction in what they're saying.
I would say that if somebody asked me for that advice, that I would give them that advice. Yes, but the issue is that
Well,
like
then we agree. Then you agree. If they can't handle it, then don't go and pursue those interactions where you're always going to get raped if the guy decides that he wants to push or break a boundary. Side to rape. Especially when we talk about things like stealthing, a lot of this is done in the moment where most rapes happen. I don't know if you've just never had a casual sexual relationship before. I can explain for people that have no experience. I see a lot of people have these conversations who don't have experience, okay? You talk to women that have experience or men that do. The way that it typically goes is the guy is chasing, and the woman is agreeing to varying levels based on her level of comfort. But because of how society's organized, because of how men are, a man will push and push and push and push, sometimes up to the point of a boundary, sometimes past a boundary, because that's what guys for historically have been trained to do, or biologically wired to do, whatever you want to say. That's how men typically approach sex right now, in kind of a rapey manner. Right? I want to bring her back to my place. I want to get her drunk. I want to do these things so that she can't say no, that she wants, right? The thing is that if we say that a man is going to act like that, then there's only one thing that stops him from doing it. And at that point, it's probably not going to be him remembering a commercial that he saw on PBS saying, don't rape. It's going to be a woman saying, hey, this is the boundary for me. We're not doing this. You're not, put the condom back on or I'm leaving. I told my friend that I was going to call her by 10 o'clock. I'm out of here if you're not going to stop. Like, this is where the line stops right now. If you're telling me that a woman can't say that, then you've given all of the agency to the man. And you're under the mistaken assumption that a man has decided prior to this, I'm going to rape somebody tonight. I'm going to go and stealth them. That's not how their mind works. The mind is, I'm going to go as far as I can with this woman. And hopefully she doesn't say no, and I'll see how far I can push it. But if a woman pushes back and say, hey, you know what? This is where we stop. Then most of the time, that is where that situation stops. Two, there are ways that people should act in the world. And sometimes it feels like we want to give advice for our utopia. In a perfect world, a girl should be able to go out to a bar, dressed in the sluttiest outfit she wants, get wasted with an absolute fucking stranger, and expect to get a Uber ride home and a guy tucking her into her fucking couch and leaving her a glass of water and an ibuprofen and then leaving the house. But that's not the world that we live in. But it feels like that's the advice that people give for. And that's just not how it is. The reality is there's a lot of creepy, rapey fucking guys out there. There's a reason why like fucking 60 to 90% of women, depending on what stat you take, have had a sexual assault experience. So this statement of like, well, men shouldn't do this, men shouldn't do that. I don't give a fuck what men should do. People shouldn't drink and drive. But when it's 2 a.m. on fucking New Year's Eve, you better believe that I'm driving like the most careful motherfucker in the world. And it's not because I think everybody on the road has a responsibility to be a nice person and not drink and drive. The reality is that the men are going to act a certain way. We have to empower women to make decisions so that they are not at the mercy of a guy who's deciding that he's going to violate and push a boundary because he knows that that woman is too demure, too quiet, or lacking too much confidence to push back on it. Okay, if that's the case, then do you think that it's helpful to tell rapists not to rape? All of this is pointless virtue signaling, right? Maybe we should have the hard conversations then about, well, how are there ways that we can avoid sexual assault? How can we empower women to have more agency who are usually at a disadvantage in sexual encounters, right? Rather than just saying men shouldn't rape over and over again, because clearly that doesn't fucking work for everybody.
wait, who here is just saying that men shouldn't rape and that's been their only like advice? Like, who
Because
are you
it
talking
seems
to?
like when you give even any amount of advice, I'm like, hey, like abstain from these things if you can't keep yourself from getting hurt on them. People freak the fuck out.
I'm pretty sure that's half of the criticism here is just tell men not to rape, right? tell men
No.
not to sell. That is
No.
exactly what was said. Maybe not from you, Spectre, but that has been said.
Don't rape. Men don't understand what rape is. This panel can't decide what rape is. We need more targeted approaches. And my issue is that you're focusing on the women's agency because you see rape and the current crime statistics of rape as a fact of the world that women and other sexual assault victims just have to live by. And I think if we focus the conversation more on the perpetrators, I can't make rape go away, but it will go down significantly more because we have spent decades training women to not get raped. They still get raped. And that has nothing to do with casual sex.
Stephen, please.
Okay, I agree with like 94.7% of what you said. Okay, I'm flattered. Okay, and flabbergasted. All right, thank you. The only things that I would nitpick there are that one, a woman not enforcing a boundary against a man doesn't make her deciding that he's going to be a rapist. If a guy is pushing a boundary and he goes too far, that's his decision, and he is the only one that can make that decision to be a rapist, okay? 100%. However, the only thing I'm saying is that, as you seem to understand, you said this, and we're really good at this, is that women culturally are taught to kind of please, to not say much, to not speak up, and men are taught to pursue. So there can be these times where men are pushing, and we can say that pushing a boundary eventually becomes rape. I mean, if you push boundaries enough, you're sexually assaulting to raping somebody. There is a spectrum there, obviously, of course. And that if the continued social programming of women is to not say anything, there are circumstances where a man goes from pushing a boundary to sexual assault to rape, where it would have stopped earlier if a woman would have just said like, hey, this is not going to happen. That's all I'm saying. That when the reason why guys stealth is because they don't want the confrontation. If a guy wanted to fuck a woman without a condom, he would just throw her on the bed and fuck her without a condom. But a guy trying to do it stealthing is trying to do it because he doesn't want the confrontation. She doesn't notice. He's just taking it off because he doesn't want her to fucking say anything, and then he just wants to sneak it in, and then by the time they're fucking, she's probably not going to say no, right? It's always push, right? But if a girl notices or figures out, it's like, hey, stop. That confrontation is enough to stop a lot of people because, like you said, men don't ever see themselves as rapists. Very few men are like, I'm going to rape somebody. Usually it's just like, if I want to have the best time possible, I have to push as much as possible. And as long as she doesn't explicitly say no, it's not rape. Because for a long time, that was the training. If the woman doesn't say no, then it's not rape. And we don't really have conversations around like enthusiastic consent or all the other parts that go into sex. It's just as long as she doesn't say no, we're fine. So if women are a little bit more comfortable saying no, there are some rapes that do happen that maybe wouldn't happen. That's all I'm saying.
Katie?